welcome you back in geological knowledge. So in the previous 2 or 3 lectures we have dealt with the basics of groundwater geology, in which we have talked about the water table maps as well as some basic concepts like the occurrence of the groundwater, the zone of aeration, capillary fringes, the zone of saturation, and the basics of water table means how we can define and what are the functions and their occurrence as well. So now we will move over to another topic that is very important for the groundwater purpose or the groundwater geology purpose. And from this topic the questions are generally asked in each and every exam related to geology. So let's start our discussion, and this focuses on the types of aquifer and aquifer functions. Okay, so the first question that deals with the aquifers are distinguished into how many types on the basis of physical conditions under which water can exist in them. So the distinguishedness in how many types aquifers are being done on the basis of the physical conditions. So the options here are 1, 2, 3 or 4. So we all know that is the aquifers, they are divided into two groups, the unconfined aquifers and the confined aquifers. Two basic types of aquifers, they are distinguished on the basis of the physical conditions under which water can exist in them. So the confined aquifer as well as the unconfined aquifer. And in the next coming slides we will discuss about the definitions as well as there some properties of confined as well as unconfined aquifer. Next question is, which aquifer is called water table aquifer? Unconfined aquifer, confined aquifer, ground aquifer or the connate aquifer? So unconfined aquifers, they are also known as water table aquifers, and in the most common types encountered in the fields. So the aquifers in which the groundwaters that occur under the atmospheric pressure, they are called the unconfined aquifers. So if a well is drilled in an unconfined aquifer, the water level present in it, that will represent the water table. So that's why unconfined aquifers are known as water table aquifer, because the uh, water level in this aquifer that represents the water table. Okay, so the correct answer of this question, that is the A option, unconfined aquifer. What is the pressure of upper surface of unconfined aquifer? Very high pressure, pressure lower than the atmospheric pressure, equal to atmospheric pressure or the greater than the atmospheric pressure? So we have already discussed the definition, that is the aquifer in which the groundwater occur under the atmospheric pressure. So these are known as unconfined aquifers. So or sometimes it's equal to atmospheric pressure, but it cannot be greater than atmospheric pressure. So you have to keep in mind that is it can be lower than the atmospheric pressure, and sometimes it's equal to atmospheric pressure. So in unconfined aquifers, the upper surface of the water or the water table that is under atmospheric pressure, which may be acting to the interstices in the overlying rocks. Okay. Sorry, here there is a problem in the question. Option B will be right. That is the lower than atmospheric pressure. Okay. So the pressure in the upper surface of the unconfined aquifer, that will be lower than the atmospheric pressure. So that is the option B is the right here. In the answer that is given, answer C, that is wrong. So option B is the right answer. Fourth one is, what is the isolated water table held by a small extension of impervious rock known as underlying water, uh, secret water, purged water or the underwater? Okay, so perched water table, the correct option is perched water table. And if we talk about the perched water table, so perch means to be in position on top of something. If something is on the top of an object, so that will be known as perched. So perched water table is the term which is used for the isolated water table in an aquifer that is held by a small extension of the impervious rock within a large pervious tract. So what happens that at some places a local impervious bed, and in the most of the cases that local impervious bed, that is aquiclude, such as a lens shaped bed of clay, occurs in a permeable rock formations above the main water table. So an isolated body of groundwater that may occurs above in this impervious layer in the zone of aeration. So such groundwater is called as, such layer is known as purged layer, and this groundwater, that is known as purged groundwater. Okay, and the local water table thus formed in this case, so that is known as purged water table. And the water bearing rocks or the water bearing formations, these are known as purged aquifers. So correct option here is, and the isolated key term, isolated is the key term, that is isolated water table held by a small extension of the impervious rock layer. So that is the option C is right, that is the purged water. Next one is supplies from the purged water tables are reliable as source of water. So the statement given here is the supplies from the purged water table are reliable as source of water. So you have to tell whether it's true or false. So the supplies from the purged water table, which are isolated reservoirs, they are often not reliable as source of water, because the water table that fluctuates in the purged water table. Okay, so that's the option B is the right, that is the given statement, that is false. Next is, what is the upper surface of the water in confined aquifers known as? Primary layer, secondary layer, first layer, or the piezometric layer. So naturally, water held in unconfined type of aquifer, that is not under the atmospheric pressure. Previously we have talked about that is in unconfined aquifer, the water that lies under the atmospheric pressure. But in case of confined aquifers, the water held in confined type of aquifer, that is not under the atmospheric pressure but under a greater pressure due to the confining medium. So the upper surface of water in a confined aquifers, that is known as piezometric surface. Okay, so the correct option here is option D, piezometric layer or piezometric surface, we can call them also. Next is, at many places, where is the piezometric surface with respect to ground level? Means at many places, where is the piezometric surface with the piezometric surface with respect to the ground level? So the options are below, some same level, above the, or the inclined to ground. So these are the above to the ground level. So artesian aquifers is in fact the confined aquifers of such a geometry developed in suitable geological situations, so that the piezometric surface is always above the ground level at many places. Okay, when the projected elevated. So the correct option here is the option C, that is above the above the ground level. Next is, what is the speciality of the artesian water? So generally artesian well is asked, and it's very important for you to understand the artesian wells and how they are formed. So what happened that in case of the confined aquifers, so a confined aquifer we can define with which aquicludes lie both above and below it. So confined aquifers, they are confined by the aquicludes that lie below as well as above it. So the aquiclude restrict the movement of groundwater, and as a result in the confined aquifer, groundwater moves under pressure. So the water pressure in such an aquifer depends on the difference in height between it and the recharge area. So if the discharge is enough, the water will readily now uh, move out, okay, to well drill in it. So such a wells, these are known as artesian wells. And a region supplying water to a confined aquifer, that is known as recharge area. Okay, so the region supplying the water to a confined aquifers, that is known as recharge area. And in the recharge area, the rainwater that is infiltrates underground through the soil. Okay, so artesian wells, when a well is drilled in a confined aquifer, the groundwater in it that rises towards the surface, so such a well is known as artesian well. Okay, so that's why I have discussed it, because it's quite important for you to understand the basics of artesian wells as well as the artesian water. So the question deals with the what is the speciality of the artesian well. Has a characteristic color, has a characteristic odor, requires no pumping, or requires special types of pumping. So we all know that is they requires no pumping. Okay, so when water is tapped from the artesian aquifers, it rushes up to great heights. So such a well are called as artesian wells or the flowing wells. And the type of the groundwater obtained from them, which often need no pumping, these are known as artesian water. Or so the correct option here, that is option C, requires no pumping. Next one is storage capacity of a reservoir depends on porosity of the rock, interconnection of rocks, quality of the solidity of rocks, or the porosity and interconnections. So the porosity and interconnections, storage capacity of a reservoir depends on the porosity as well as the interconnections of the pores. Okay, means which type of porosity, means how the rocks are porous, means whether they are porous or permeable, and which type of porosity they contain, and the interconnections between the rocks as well as the grain sediments. So the correct option here is D option, that is porosity and interconnections. Next one is what is the volume of watts in a rock mass expressed in percentage of total volume of the rock called as porosity, watt ratio, permeability, or specific yield. So it's the definition of porosity is given here, and the same is has been asked. So porosity can be defined as the quantity of groundwater that can be stored in a rock depends on its porosity. Okay, so porosity is a measure of the pore spaces in rocks. So it's a defined as the percentage of pore spaces existing in a given volume of rock. Okay, and rocks that vary widely in porosity. So the loose sands and gravels, they may have porosity up to 50%, sandstones up to 15%, while porosity of igneous rocks in the order of 2 to 3%, because they are made up of basaltic rocks, the extrusive igneous rocks, which are made up basically the most important example of extrusive igneous rocks, that is basalt. Okay, in which pore spaces are there, some wide spaces are there which are generally filled with water. So that's why they have 2 to 3% of porosity. But if we talk about the highest porosity, so that is in loose sands and gravels. So you have to keep in mind that is loose sands as well as gravels, they have high porosity. And the same that given here, the porosity is defined as volume of watts in rock masses, which are expressed in percentage terms of the total volume of the rock. So the correct option here is the porosity. Next one is, which type of rocks are highly porous? Igneous, sedimentary, metamorphic, or the igneous and metamorphic. So undoubtedly the sedimentary rocks, they are relatively porous because there is a great variation in degree of packing on the one hand, and in size, shape as well as the arrangement of the grains on the other hand. Okay, so that's why the porosity of igneous sedimentary rocks, that is generally higher than the igneous as well as metamorphic rocks. Okay, and the causes behind that, or the reason behind that, that is the variation in the degree of packing as well as the size, shape and the arrangement of the grains. So the correct option here is the option B. Next question is, high porosity is alone sufficient to ensure water yield? So the statement is given here, high porosity is alone sufficient to ensure water yield. True or false? The statement is given and you have to pinpoint whether it's true or false. So the porosity is the property of primary importance, as we have discussed in the previous slide, which has been determined the water bearing quality of a rock. Okay, so porosity can also be termed as the determining factor, the water bearing qualities of rock. So only porous rocks can be aquifers, but high porosity itself is not sufficient to ensure water yield capacity of a rock. Okay, so the correct option, that is B, the given statement is false. Next one is, what is the quantity of water that a unit volume of aquifer drains by gravity is known as? Quantity of water that a unit volume of aquifer drains by gravity is known as porous volume, water yield, specific yield or the unit yield. So that is specific yield, and we must understand both these terms, specific yield as well as specific retention, because they are generally asked in each and every exam related to geological sciences, whether it's objective type of exam or whether it's a subjective type of exams. So the water that is released by aquifers under the force of gravity, that and depends both on the quantity as well as the quality of pores and other openings present in the rocks. So it's known as the specific yield, and that can be defined as the quantity of water that a unit volume of aquifers drains by gravity. So that is known as specific yield. So all the water that exists in the aquifers cannot be recovered. So a part which is held there by molecular attractions is not free to move. So the terms specific yield and the specific retentions have been used to designate respectively the water which can be drained out freely under gravity and the water which is held in the aquifers. Okay, so the water that can be drained out freely under gravity, that's known as specific yield, and water which is held in the aquifers, that is known as specific yield. Okay, so option C is the right answer. The term which is collectively responsible along with specific yield for total porosity of an aquifer is known as unit yield, specific retention, unit retention or the specific allowance. So the correct option here is, that is the option B, that is specific retention. We have talked about the drainage, the amount of water drained out freely under gravity, that is known as specific yield, and water which is held in the aquifer, that is known as specific retention. So specific yield may be defined as the ratio of the volume of water which can be drained out and the total volume of the aquifer. The total volume of the aquifer, the specific retention, that is the ratio of volume of water which is retained and is total volume of aquifer. Okay, so that can be defined or that can be termed as specific retention. So option, so specific retention is the term used to express the amount of water retained by a unit volume of aquifer, allowing gravity drainage through it. So thus specific yield and specific retention, they together sum up to the total porosity of an aquifer. Okay, so total porosity can be written as specific yield plus specific retention. So the correct option here is option B, specific retention. So this was our discussion about the some other related terms like specific yield, specific retention, porosity, permeability, as well as artesian wells, and they are quite important for the exam point of view because generally questions are asked in each and every exam, as we have already discussed. And in the next video we will discuss some other related terms. Okay, thank you.